Why embracing balance in every area of life makes you unstoppably strong. I lived life wrong. Until I found this ancient secret, it made me unstoppable. Alright, check this out. Imagine standing on a tightrope, suspended hundreds of feet in the air. Below you, chaos. On one side, maybe it's the relentless pull of your career, demanding every ounce of your time, your energy, your very soul. On the other, maybe it's the siren song of fleeting pleasures, chasing highs, avoiding lows, letting responsibility crumble like sand. And you're leaning so far, so dangerously far, in one direction. Your muscles are screaming, your mind is a frantic mess, and the wind is picking up, threatening to send you plummeting. That was me, not literally on a tightrope, but it felt like it. My tightrope was my life, and I was leaning so hard into one thing, chasing some external validation, some fleeting win, that everything else was shaking apart. My health, non-existent. My relationships, strained, superficial. My inner peace, a joke. I was building one pillar of my life sky high, but the others were crumbling, and the whole structure, me, was unstable, fragile, breakable. And I see it everywhere. People grinding 80 hours a week for a paycheck, ignoring their family, their health, their own spirit, or people chasing non-stop parties, fleeting connections, avoiding any kind of deeper meaning or responsibility. Or maybe you're pouring everything into one relationship, losing yourself, your friends, your own identity. We build these towering, precarious structures of imbalance, thinking that more of this one thing, this one area, will make us strong. We think crushing it at work, or having the most fun, or being the most dedicated partner means we're winning. But I'm telling you, it's a lie, it's a trap, because when that one pillar inevitably shakes, and life will shake it, the whole damn thing collapses. And you collapse with it. I spent years pushing myself to the absolute limit in one direction, convinced that sheer willpower, sheer more, was the answer. More work, more achievements, more external wins. I thought that was strength. I thought being a machine, relentless and focused on one goal, was the way to be unstoppable. I'd see people trying to find balance, and honestly, I'd think they were soft, afraid to go all in, missing out on true success. Man, was I wrong. I was so spectacularly, painfully wrong. The success I found was hollow. The strength was brittle. One setback, one piece of bad news, one unexpected challenge, and my carefully constructed world would wobble, tilt, and threaten to crash down. I was powerful in one narrow lane, but utterly helpless outside of it. It hit me hardest during a time when everything felt like it was on fire. Not a metaphor, okay, a little bit of a metaphor, but it felt real. My business was booming, hitting numbers I'd only dreamed of. I was working non-stop, fueled by caffeine and sheer adrenaline. My body was screaming, but I ignored it. My friends tried to reach out, but I was too busy. My family worried, but I waved them off. I was killing it in one area. Then, bam, not one thing, but a cascade. A health scare that forced me to stop dead in my tracks. A crucial relationship fractured because I hadn't shown up in months. A sudden, unexpected market shift that threatened to unravel everything I'd built just in that one area. It was like the universe handed me a crowbar and smashed the one pillar I'd relied on. And I was left standing there, wobbly, exposed, terrifyingly weak. Everything I thought was strength vanished. I remember sitting alone one night, the silence deafening after the constant noise of my busy life. The fear was a cold knot in my stomach. I had achieved what I thought I wanted, but I felt empty, exhausted, and completely unprepared for life's curveballs. I looked at my life, this towering, lopsided monument to my obsession, and I saw its fundamental flaw. It lacked a foundation. It lacked stability. It lacked balance. I thought balance was about doing everything a little bit, like juggling too many balls. Poorly. That's not it. That's not strength. That's diffusion. True balance, the kind that makes you strong, is something else entirely. It's about strategic integration. It's ancient wisdom, rediscovered. It was in this moment, staring at the wreckage of my imbalanced life, that I stumbled upon something profound. Something that wasn't about achieving more, but about being more. It wasn't about conquering the external world, but about mastering the internal one. It was the philosophy of the Stoics. Now, before you tune out, thinking this is some dusty old stuff, hear me out. These guys, they weren't soft. They were gladiators, emperors, slaves, thinkers. People who faced the absolute worst of life and found a way to not just survive, but to thrive, with unwavering inner strength. And a core part of their wisdom, I started to realize, was about this very thing: balance. Not as a compromise, but as a source of power. They talked about living in accordance with nature, not just trees and rivers, but human nature, our rational, social nature. And I started seeing how imbalance is unnatural. It's a distortion, like a tree growing all its branches on one side. It's destined to topple. They emphasized cultivating all the virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. And temperance, often misunderstood as just abstinence, is fundamentally about balance and moderation in all things. It's about having control over your desires and impulses, distributing your energy wisely. It's about not letting any one thing, not pleasure, not pain, not ambition, not fear, dominate you completely. I started reading, devouring their writings. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor writing his meditations in a war tent; Epictetus, the former slave teaching freedom; Seneca, the advisor navigating the treacherous court of Nero. And I saw how their struggles, their challenges, were just like mine, just like yours. The pressure to succeed, the fear of failure, the pain of loss, the demands of relationships, the search for meaning. And their answer wasn't to hyper-focus on one area to escape the others, but to integrate them, to find harmony. I began to understand that true strength isn't found in maximizing one area at the expense of all others. It's found in the resilience that comes from a well-rounded, well-tended life. It's like an ancient shield. If you make the shield only from one material, no matter how strong, say, pure iron, it might be great against one type of attack, but brittle against another. But a shield crafted with layers of different materials, each reinforcing the others, is far more robust, far more capable of withstanding any blow. That's what embracing balance does for your life. It makes you a multi-layered, incredibly strong shield against the unpredictable assaults of existence. Think about it. When you neglect your health for work, you might gain money, but you lose the physical energy and mental clarity needed to actually enjoy or even sustain that work long-term. When you prioritize constant pleasure over responsibility, you might feel good now, but you erode your future security and self-respect. When you pour everything into one relationship, you lose your support network, your individual identity, making that relationship bear an unsustainable weight. Every extreme creates a hidden weakness. Every imbalance is a point of fragility. I started experimenting, applying these Stoic ideas not just to big life crises, but to my daily routine. It felt counterintuitive at first. Taking time for health when I felt like I had to be working? Spending time with friends when I had deadlines looming? Consciously stepping back from a potential huge win to make sure other areas weren't collapsing? It felt like I was slowing down, losing my edge, but something surprising started happening. By intentionally allocating energy and attention to different parts of my life, my physical well-being, my relationships, my intellectual growth, my contribution to others, my inner calm, I wasn't diffusing my energy, I was multiplying my resilience. My physical health improved, giving me more sustained energy for work than endless caffeine ever did. My relationships deepened, providing a support system that helped me weather stress I used to face alone. Taking time for reflection and learning sharpened my mind, making me more effective and strategic when I was working. It wasn't about doing everything perfectly all the time. It was about conscious effort towards equilibrium. It was like I was finally building that multi-layered shield. Work stress? The strength from my relationships and physical health helped absorb the blow. Relationship difficulty? The perspective gained from my intellectual pursuits and the resilience from my physical well-being kept me grounded. A personal setback? My broader network and inner fortitude built through balanced self-care prevented me from spiraling. I wasn't just surviving, I was becoming robust. I was becoming unstoppable in a way I never imagined. Not because nothing could touch me, but because I could absorb the hits and keep moving forward, my core intact. This path isn't easy. The world constantly pressures you towards imbalance. Social media celebrates extremes. Our own desires often push us to excess. The pull of that one seemingly dominant area is always there. It requires constant vigilance, conscious choices, and the courage to go against the grain. It requires the Stoic practice of self-awareness and discipline. It requires asking yourself, is this action contributing to a balanced, resilient life, or is it creating another point of fragility? So, how do you even start building this balanced strength? It begins with recognizing the illusion of power in extremes. It begins with understanding that your life is an ecosystem, not a single crop you can monoculture. It requires mapping out the key areas that constitute a full human life: your health, physical and mental, your relationships, family, friends, community, your work, contribution, your growth, learning, self-reflection, and your inner peace, spirituality, whatever that means to you. And then, with Stoic honesty, assessing where you are dangerously imbalanced. Are you investing 90% of your energy into work and 10% into everything else? Are you chasing pleasure 80% of the time and neglecting your future security and growth? Are you giving all your emotional energy to one person and none to your own needs or other connections? Be honest. No judgment, just awareness. Because awareness is the first step to reclaiming control. Remember, the Stoics taught us to focus on what we can control. We can't always control the challenges life throws at us. But we can control where we place our focus, our energy, our intention. We can choose to strive for balance. This journey isn't about perfection. There will be times when one area demands more of you. A crisis at work, a family emergency, a personal health issue. The Stoic path isn't rigid adherence, it's flexibility within a strong framework. The difference is, when you have a foundation of balance, you can temporarily lean into one area without the whole structure collapsing. You have reserves, you have support systems, you have inner fortitude built from tending to the whole of your life. You can handle the temporary lean, because you know how to return to equilibrium. The imbalanced person, however, is always leaning dangerously, with no capacity to absorb any extra weight. Embracing balance isn't about being mediocre in everything. It's about being robust in all the essential areas of life, allowing you to apply focused intensity when needed, without sacrificing your fundamental stability. It's the difference between a sprinter who can only run one distance and a decathlete who is strong and capable across a range of disciplines. Who do you think is more prepared for the unpredictable marathon of life? Okay, so we know imbalance is a trap, and balance is the foundation of true strength. But how do you actually build this foundation? How do you navigate the real-world pressures and your own internal resistance to distributing your energy? That's where the practical application of Stoic principles becomes not just philosophy, but a survival guide. And it's not what you might expect. It's not about fluffy self-help. It's about confronting hard truths, making tough choices, and building resilience through action. Get ready, because in the next segment, we're diving deep into the hidden forces that actively fight against your balance and reveal surprising, counterintuitive Stoic strategies to overcome them. We'll explore how your perception of time is sabotaging you, why chasing happiness directly is a recipe for imbalance, and unveil a powerful daily practice that acts like a compass, constantly guiding you back to that point of unstoppable strength. You won't believe how simple, yet challenging, it is. The secret Stoic tactic that stops life from crushing you, it's not what you think. Alright, you're still here. Good. That means you feel it too. That gnawing sense that despite chasing something hard, you're not truly strong, not truly stable. You suspect the relentless pursuit of just one thing is leaving you vulnerable. And you're right. We've established that imbalance is weakness in disguise. Now, let's expose the enemies of balance and arm ourselves with the ancient wisdom to fight back. The biggest enemy isn't some external force. It's internal. It's our own perception, specifically, our warped perception of time and value. We live in a world obsessed with instant gratification and immediate results. We see someone crushing it in one area and we think, I need to do that, and only that, right now. We see a quick win and we hyper-focus, neglecting the slow, steady cultivation required for a balanced, strong life. The Stoics understood this. They talked about the importance of focusing on the present moment. Yes, but not in a hedonistic sense. They meant focusing on virtuous action in the present, understanding that consistent, small, right actions build a virtuous, strong life over time. Our modern impatience is a massive imbalance generator. We'll spend 10 hours on a work project that brings immediate praise, but can't find 30 minutes for exercise that brings slow, long-term health. We'll scroll for hours seeking fleeting dopamine hits, but claim we have no time to call a friend or family member whose connection requires consistent, patient effort. We prioritize the urgent, the flashy, the immediately rewarding, over the important, the foundational, the slowly compounding areas that actually build resilience. The Stoic answer? Practice prosoj, paying attention. Paying attention not just to what's happening around you, but to what's happening within you. Paying attention to where your time and energy are really going. Are they flowing disproportionately into one area because it feels easy, or rewarding in the short term, or because you're afraid to face the challenges in another area? Ask yourself, what am I really valuing with my time? Is it aligned with building a life that can withstand anything? Another enemy of balance? Our relentless pursuit of external validation and outcomes. We see someone with a fancy job title, a perfect-looking relationship, a huge bank account, and we think that's the goal. We then structure our lives, our time, our energy, solely around acquiring those external markers. But the Stoics taught us that these things are indifferent. They are preferred, perhaps, but ultimately outside our control and incapable of providing true, lasting happiness or strength. Placing all your value, all your energy, into an area built on externals is like building your house on sand. When you tie your self-worth entirely to your career success, your balance is shattered every time your job hits a rough patch. When your emotional well-being relies solely on one relationship, you become a prisoner to its ups and downs, neglecting your own inner fortitude and other vital connections. The Stoics would tell you, focus on what is within your control, your judgments, your desires, your actions, your character. Cultivate your inner garden, your wisdom, your justice, your courage, your temperance, across all areas of your life. That is where true strength resides. Think about temperance again. It's not just about avoiding excess in pleasure. It's about applying appropriate measure to everything. Too much work isn't courageous. It's often a form of avoidance or attachment. Too much focus on health to the exclusion of relationships isn't virtuous. It's imbalanced self-absorption. Temperance is the virtue of right distribution. It's the internal manager that ensures no single area becomes a tyrant, draining resources from the others. It's about saying, this much, and no more, for this specific thing, so that I have energy for these other essential things. This brings us to a powerful, yet counterintuitive Stoic tactic for building balance: negative visualization. Sounds dark, right? Like picturing the worst? Kind of, but its purpose is liberating. The Stoics would advise you to regularly contemplate the loss of things you value, your job, your possessions, your health, even loved ones, not to dwell in misery, but to appreciate what you have now, and more importantly, to recognize how much of your peace and perceived strength is tied to things that are fundamentally impermanent and outside your control. How does this build balance? By reducing your excessive attachment to any single external area. If you constantly contemplate losing your job, you are less likely to sacrifice everything else for it, because you build an inner understanding that your core self, your strength, must exist independently of that one role. If you contemplate the fragility of health, you are more likely to make consistent, balanced efforts to maintain it, rather than neglecting it until crisis hits. Negative visualization helps you mentally detach from the extremes and appreciate the value in the distributed strength of a balanced life. It highlights your vulnerabilities in areas you might be neglecting. Let me give you a real-world example of how insidious this imbalance can be, and how applying Stoic principles can help. I saw a friend absolutely destroy himself financially, not through reckless spending on pleasure, but through obsessive work-related investment. Every spare dollar, every spare hour went into one venture, neglecting personal savings, basic health checkups, and any kind of leisure or social spending. He believed that total focus on this one financial goal was the path to security and freedom. He was convinced he was being courageous and disciplined. But he was the picture of imbalance. His health deteriorated, his relationships became transactional, and his anxiety was through the roof because everything hinged on this one outcome. When the venture hit a major roadblock, an external event he couldn't control, he didn't just face financial trouble, he faced total collapse. He had no health to fall back on, no friends for support, no internal resources built from broader life experiences. He was weak precisely because he was so strong, obsessed in one narrow area. Applying Stoic thinking to his situation, and my own past one, revealed the error. His focus wasn't on the virtuous pursuit of financial well-being, which involves prudence, planning, and recognizing external factors, but on the passion of accumulating wealth and validating himself through it, an external indifferent. Temperance was missing, the balanced allocation of resources and energy. Courage was misapplied, it was stubbornness and attachment, not the courage to face the full reality of his situation and diversify his efforts. We started talking about the Stoic idea of preferred indifference. Money is useful. Health is preferred, but neither is essential for a virtuous life or true strength. True strength comes from your inner state, your character, built through right action in all spheres. We talked about the dichotomy of control. He could control his effort, his planning, his saving habits, but not the market, the competition, or external luck. By pouring everything into the uncontrollable outcome and neglecting the controllable process in other areas of his life, his health habits, his social connections, he became a slave to fortune. Slowly, painfully, he started shifting. He allocated a small, non-negotiable portion of his time and budget to health. He forced himself to reconnect with old friends, even when it felt awkward. He started reading and engaging with ideas outside of his industry. It felt like taking resources away from the one area he thought mattered. But as he did, his anxiety lessened. He gained perspective. He built a network that actually offered different kinds of support. His physical health improved, giving him more sustained energy for his business challenges. He wasn't just propping up one teetering pillar anymore. He was slowly, surely, building a broader, more stable foundation. He was regaining his balance. And in doing so, he was becoming genuinely stronger. This isn't about finding a perfect 50-50 split for everything. Life is dynamic. There will be seasons where one area requires more attention. But the goal of Stoic balance is to have the capacity to handle those seasons without everything else falling apart. It's about having a deep well of resilience drawn from all aspects of your well-tended life. It's about knowing that if one pillar is stressed, the others are strong enough to help bear the load temporarily, and knowing when to return to distributing that weight. So, what are those key areas you need to be consciously tending? We mentioned them: health, sleep, exercise, nutrition, mental well-being, relationships, family, friends, community, work, contribution, career, purpose, growth, learning, reflection, and inner peace, mindfulness, values. Where are you drastically underinvesting? Where are you dangerously overinvesting? This isn't a guilt trip, it's a strategic assessment. Because ignoring an area doesn't make it disappear, it makes it a ticking time bomb for your overall stability. This shift in perspective, from chasing external extremes to cultivating internal balance across all areas, is transformative. It changes how you view success, how you handle failure, how you experience daily life. It moves you from being a fragile specialist to a robust generalist in the art of living. But putting it into consistent practice requires discipline and specific techniques. And that brings us to the truly powerful part. Beyond understanding the why, beyond recognizing the enemies, there are daily, weekly, and even yearly practices, rooted in Stoicism, that can fundamentally rewire your habits and your mindset to make balance your default state, making you not just strong, but genuinely unstoppable. These aren't passive meditations, they're active exercises in self-mastery. In the final segment, we'll unveil these practical Stoic tools, including a planning method used by ancient philosophers that will instantly highlight your imbalances, a simple morning routine that sets your trajectory for balanced action, and the ultimate Stoic perspective shift that turns life's greatest challenges into opportunities to strengthen your core in every area. This is where we go from theory to building an unbreakable life. Get ready to forge your inner fortress. Build your unbreakable life. The ancient Stoic blueprint for total resilience. You've seen the tightrope, you've felt the wobble of imbalance, and you understand that true strength comes not from dominating one area, but from integrating all of them. We've exposed the enemies of balance, our impatience, our attachment to externals, our warped sense of value. Now, let's get practical. Let's build. Let's apply the ancient Stoic blueprint to forge a life so balanced, so integrated, that it becomes fundamentally unstoppable. How do you go from understanding the need for balance to actually living it? It starts with intentionality. The Stoics didn't drift through life. They were intensely focused on living virtuously, rationally, and in accordance with nature. For us, living in accordance with our nature includes tending to all the essential aspects of being human. A powerful tool for this, surprisingly simple yet incredibly effective, is the Stoic practice of premeditation of evils, premeditatio malorum, combined with daily planning and review. This isn't just about bracing for the worst. It's about clarifying what truly matters and where your energy should be directed before the chaos of the day hits. Start your day, not by checking your phone or email, but by taking a few quiet moments. Review your core areas of life: health, relationships, work, contribution, growth, inner peace. Ask yourself, what are my intentions for each of these areas today? Not huge, overwhelming goals, but small, actionable steps. Maybe it's a 20-minute walk for health, a sincere check-in with a loved one for relationships, tackling one important task for work, reading for 15 minutes for growth, and a few minutes of quiet reflection for inner peace. By consciously setting intentions across all these areas before your day begins, you are actively programming your focus towards balance. You are telling your mind, these all matter. This prevents you from getting swept away by the demands of just one area, usually work or immediate problems. This is an act of self-mastery. It's saying, I dictate where my energy flows, not the loudest or most urgent demand. Then, the Stoic evening review. Before bed, reflect on your day. How did you do in each area? Where did you succeed in maintaining balance? Where did you fail? Be honest, without judgment. The Stoics weren't about self-flagellation, they were about continuous improvement. Epictetus recommended asking yourself, where did I go wrong? What did I do right? What duty did I neglect? Apply this to your areas of balance. Did I neglect my health today for extra work? Why? What could I do differently tomorrow? Did I prioritize a trivial pleasure over a meaningful connection? What was I avoiding? This consistent practice of planning and reviewing across the different areas of your life is like having a built-in compass and calibration system. It keeps balance front and center. It prevents drift. Over time, it retrains your habits and your priorities. It makes conscious balance an unconscious practice. Another critical Stoic application for balance is understanding and practicing acceptance. The Stoics taught the profound power of accepting what you cannot control. Imbalance often stems from a frantic, desperate attempt to control the uncontrollable in one area, to force a certain outcome at work, to make a relationship be exactly what you want it to be, to defy the natural process of aging or illness. This struggle is exhausting and creates immense internal imbalance. When you learn to accept the external reality, the market downturn, the other person's choices, the limits of your physical body, you free up enormous amounts of energy. Energy that was previously wasted on futile resistance can now be wisely redirected to the areas you can influence, including tending to your own inner state and maintaining balance in the face of external upheaval. Imagine trying to balance on a seesaw that's bolted to the ground at one end. Impossible, right? That's trying to find balance while desperately trying to control something outside your power. But if the seesaw is free, you can adjust and find equilibrium. Acceptance unbolts the seesaw. It allows you to find your own stable point, regardless of how the external world is tilting. This isn't passive resignation. This is active wisdom. It's about recognizing the boundary between your sphere of influence and the rest of the universe. Your effort towards a balanced life is within your control. The outcome of that effort, in a specific area influenced by external factors, often is not. Focus on the effort, the virtuous action, the process of striving for balance. And find your strength there. Wow. Moment for me in understanding this came when I saw someone lose something absolutely central to their imbalanced life, not wealth. Not a job, but something deeply personal they had poured everything into. To everyone looking in, it was a tragedy, a complete loss, and for a while, it was devastating, but because this person had, through consistent effort, also nurtured other areas of their life, maintained a few deep friendships, kept up a physical health routine even when busy, continued to learn and find solace in ideas that didn't shatter completely. The other pillars, though stressed, held, the support systems kicked in. The inner resilience built from a broader, more balanced foundation allowed them to grieve, to adapt, and eventually, to rebuild, not just that one area, but a more resilient life overall. They were bent, but not broken. That's unstoppable strength. It's not the inability to fall, it's the capacity to rise. Integrated and stronger, because the fall didn't obliterate your entire being. This leads to the highest level of Stoic understanding regarding balance, living in accordance with nature. Not just our human nature, but the nature of the cosmos, the interconnectedness of everything. The Stoics saw the universe as a single, rational entity. Everything is connected. My actions impact you, your state impacts me. The health of one part of a system affects the health of the whole. Applied to your life, this means recognizing that neglecting one area doesn't just weaken that area, it weakens the whole system that is you. Your physical health impacts your mental clarity, which impacts your relationships, which impacts your work performance, and so on. Embracing balance isn't just self-preservation, it's aligning with the fundamental interconnectedness of reality. It's acknowledging that a truly strong, resilient you requires the harmonious functioning of all your essential parts. You are an ecosystem, tend to all its elements. The unstoppable strength that comes from this deep, integrated balance isn't about never facing problems. It's about facing them with a full arsenal of resources: physical health, emotional resilience, a strong support network, intellectual clarity, and inner peace. It's about not being knocked completely off course because one area is hit. It's about having the internal stability to navigate the storm, find your center, and keep moving forward, guided by your values and your reason, not tossed about by external forces or internal extremes. Think of a ship. An imbalanced ship, overloaded on one side, is easy prey for the waves. A well-ballasted ship, distributing weight evenly, can ride out the storm. Its core intact, its course steady. Embracing balance makes you the well-ballasted ship. The ultimate freedom in Stoicism comes from realizing that your well-being, your strength, your happiness, is determined by your internal state, built on virtue and reason, not by external circumstances. And building balance across all areas of your life, guided by virtues like temperance, wisdom, justice, and courage, is the most direct path to cultivating that unconquerable inner state. It's about building an inner fortress, brick by brick, in all the essential places. So, the challenge for you, right now, is to stop chasing the illusion of strength in extremes. Stop thinking more work, more pleasure, more of that one thing is the answer. It's not. It's a path to fragility. Instead, embrace the ancient wisdom. Embrace balance, not as a constraint, but as the foundation of true power. Start small. Identify one area you are neglecting and commit to one small, consistent action there, starting today. Use the morning intention setting and evening review. Practice acceptance. See your life as an integrated whole. The path to becoming unstoppably strong isn't paved with single, monumental achievements. It's built with the consistent, conscious effort of tending to the whole of your life, finding equilibrium in the face of chaos, distributing your energy wisely, and cultivating your inner fortress across all its essential chambers. Do this, and you won't just survive the storms of life. You will navigate them with a quiet power, an inner resilience that is truly unbreakable. You will be, in the most profound sense, unstoppable. And the best time to start? Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Go build your balanced, unbreakable life.